Welcome to our October meeting. Can you believe we're here in the year already? It's just crazy. But it's good to have you all. It looks like I see some new names on the call that aren't always able to join us. So we're super glad to have you today. We did choose a topic for the session, but of course, if you've brought something with you today that you'd like to bring up to the group to ask, or a success you've had that you just can't wait to share with the group, we'll have some time to do that at the end for sure. But the question that I sent out today and the topic I sent is surrounding emerging trends and challenges. So I'll just open it up to the group. What new issues are your members talking about right now? And how might your chapter bring timely education or resources? Or is there something that you're already working on? I'd love to hear. What problems are you solving for your chapter members? Or have you asked them? Have they been talking to you about issues or things that they're having challenges with?
Hey, Emily, thank you so much. I'm like super casual today, so you guys probably don't want to look at me, but I'll try to get us started. It's like not really a new issue, but it's one that just is not going away. And that is the decreased participation at chapter events by managers. And the fact that we are, routinely seeing the same business partners over and over at all of our events. And I know that's an issue that's impacting not just our chapter. So I am all ears in regards to what other chapters may be doing to address that and how they've been successful in getting more engagement from managers.
That's great. Thanks, Krista, for getting us started. Anyone have any input on that? What you're doing to increase manager participation at meetings, or is that something you're having an issue with?
I
I
think
know.
I can.
Oh, go ahead, Randy.
Thank you. I'm having tech problems. So hello everyone. Also, I'm about to
Hey,
go into another meeting. Um, I do not remember who asked the question. What
Krista.
I've been doing, and by the way, I'm the president-elect with the Illinois chapter and have had some great conversation with different people. But I find that a lot of our partners, vendors, do not know exactly how to engage with managers. So I've had some small little touch points with what does engagement look like? What do managers really need? And how do you want to communicate, especially in Q2 or for us, Q3 going into Q4 with budget season? Great conversations. And I find that what I've had to do in helping with some of our colleagues and members is we have to lead the way. We have to be willing to say, let me introduce you. I'm going to hold your hand, have these conversations, build that bridge, and then let them run with it. But it is truly amazing for so many business development people that they expect to be, I'm a member and that's it. It's just going to all come in. So it's like, no, no.
Yeah,
So
that's so true.
but Emily, if I may continue, because I
Yeah,
have another meeting and I have to listen in. Other
sure.
things that we're dealing with, which I think is kind of fascinating. I'm also participating with our digital committee, upgrading our website. And as someone who does not use social media like other people, I have to look at it again. And some of the vendors were just discussing the lack of ease of finding certain things and where their information is listed as vendors. And they're like, if you're not this and that, and I was like, look, we're gonna have a paywall. This is what it is. But when you get in here into the website, and I assume everyone's looked at the website, on ours, when you have the top bar across, and one of the vendors said, well, where's this information? And we click the bar, it pops, there was a pop-up below that with additional information, which I had never thought of because we're just kind of just geared to click, 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 you'll find it. And he's like, something this simple would be tremendous. He's like, and also mobile activity. He's like, a lot of us have to use our phones because we're in the field.
Right.
So if there's anyone who wants to talk about that topic at some point and what that looks like in 2026 to make some updates, it would be appreciated.
Absolutely. And you're talking specifically about your chapter
The chapter website.
website.
So I
Yeah.
told the team, let's take a look at national, see what that looks like and how we can be a bit more lockstep. But it was a fascinating thing how many vendors during that conversation like this, when you open up, everyone started saying, oh yeah, me too, me too.
Mhm.
I was like,
Yeah.
okay, well,
One of the things, just to piggyback on what you were saying and also to comment, we're going through updating our own website as well. And unfortunately, the company that we had, it was a smaller type of business, and the gentleman who was spearheading all of it was terminally ill and recently passed. So now we're looking at going to someone that we found actually at the national convention that we all were at, that also does several other websites for different chapters. And the same thing, it was basically, we needed something that was a lot more user friendly, because pulling information and what had to go to QuickBooks, and we just wound up finding out that we would save a lot more money because the wild apricot is not always as easily integrated with other systems. And that was causing a little bit of an issue. But just to your point, is basically is that we needed something that's a little bit more user friendly and is a lot more easily accessed. So I feel your pain.
Alana, thank you for saying that. One extra thing to add before I have to go off camera, Emily. Somehow enhancing the calendar, because that's the other challenge. There's so many great things to do, but just the ease of having the calendar, and I don't know this, if you can just do a drop down and click where it can add to your Outlook. Because some of the vendors were like, there's a lot of great events. I don't know. I've got to copy, paste, do this and do this. I did not think about that because for my team, we do an annual calendar of all the events in Chicagoland. It was like CAI, BOMA, Cubs games, everything's happening, Bears hockey. So it's like everyone knows, plus the school calendar to help us with what we're trying to achieve. But when it was said by a vendor, I had to stop and think, if I was in the field trying to network and I wanted to attend things, I need to know early. And we do a tremendous job on populating the data, but how easy is it for someone to download? So something to think
No,
about.
and I think knowing that it seems like a lot of people are looking at their website. Again, we are too. We have regular meetings again to make sure this, and I think we're a unique situation where we have so many different member types that we're trying to reach each of them for what they need and make sure that the website contains all of that information to all of our membership types. So I think what might be beneficial is maybe if we put together a dedicated space for us to have this conversation, because I definitely think while it's important that the board and the volunteers are having this, that the chapter staff is also involved in that conversation, because they're doing so much of the work too, but they also need to have the same concept, the same messaging. So we'll look at getting something like that set up so that we can have that deeper discussion within this topic. For sure. I
Excellent.
think this
And
is
Kelly, just for
important.
your own edification, Annalisa been tremendous. She was part of this conversation
Good,
with me and
good,
our group.
good.
So
That's good to hear.
you're
Awesome.
spot on. Thank you. And
That's great.
hello,
Thanks,
everyone.
Randy.
Thank you, Randy, for asking that. I appreciate it. Anyone have any input? Mia, I saw that you came off mute. Did you have anything going back to the manager?
Yeah, we
Challenge?
don't have that discussion so much as we did at a previous point in time. And what we did was we took a many layered approach to get more managers out to our events, because without them, our business partners were not happy, right? And so basically, we had tasked our the committee that puts together our the luncheons we tasked them with finding better venues that attracted more managers to want to come out, which increased the cost, obviously, but that was one thing that we did, and that was a huge help. Who knew the place does make a difference? And so it was new venues like the Atlanta Zoo. We did it at the I think at the aquarium. We had various fun places for them to come to. And the other thing, but which is more of a grassroots type of thing, is that we had all of us on the board, all of our committee chairs, all of just anyone who was part of our chapter on any type of leadership level, reach out as they were communicating and working with managers on a day in, day out basis to remind them about the events that was coming up, and just basically made it a point to say, I will see you there, right? So each of us kind of took it upon ourselves, and we just kind of pushed that as an initiative that we all needed to do. Take the extra time on an email to say, oh, by the way, are you coming to that function next week? I'm going to be there. I'm really excited about it, and get people talking about it more. We also have our Wednesday e-blast that goes out that, it's like a snapshot of all the upcoming events. It's a good reminder to people who, forgot about it. So it's just kind of incorporating little things that, make it in their mind and not out of their thoughts, out of sight. So those are just some of the things, but it is, to me, it's a very layered approach on many different levels to try to address that. And unfortunately for us, we are not having that issue as much as we did some years ago.
That's great, Mia.
I was with a couple chapters this past week. I don't see them on, so I figured I'd share. One of the discussions that they really dived deep into was around this of, we're seeing that decline in specifically in-person events. And they spent a lot of time talking about how do we elevate that experience, that it's not that this couldn't be a Zoom education course, right? That this couldn't be something that someone could log in from their car or at home or the office, but why did they need to be there in person? And it really came down to the connections and talking to the people that you're with there and trying to think about how can we be more interactive during that presentation time? How can we be more conscious about the people in the room, not just if it's just the normal presentation of a person's at the podium speaking and has a PowerPoint. Was there really a good reason to get people there? And people are starting to feel that. I mean, I'm sure all of you, if you went to an education session and you're like, okay, maybe I don't need to be here again next time. Or, yes, that was great, but I didn't really get that extra piece of having to drive that 45 minutes or having to sit in traffic, find parking, things like that. So I would task maybe having that discussion with your education committee of, how can we elevate that experience, whether it's the venue, whether it's making sure it's more interactive with the attendees, but really bringing an experience to them if it's in person, and to see if that would bring a higher quality for that.
Kelly Della is on the
I see Della.
call.
I was going to say, I just see her now. Yeah.
And I was going to mention that, and thanks, Kelly, for going through that with us. That was really enlightening. But the elevating the in-person programs is a huge deal for us. And not only that, but we're really spread out. I mean, like, I am 2.5 hours from St. Louis. Another large area is Kansas City. They're 4 hours from St. Louis. And so trying to get the programs where we can, if I drive 2 hours, I'm going to be like, could we have not done that on Zoom, and, so, I mean, yeah, that is definitely something that we're going to be working on really hard.
Tanisha, you came off mute.
Oh,
did you want to share?
You know what? What I find, it's funny. I started and then I got distracted. I find that the idea about like a weekly memo is something that could be really helpful because we're struggling with I think sort of, especially in Canada, like we're CAI is, you know, a lot of the content is geared towards the US, and you know, it was really nice. We met up with Jeevan and we were talking about different ideas he had. He was in Toronto and how we can kind of co-opt those and make it relevant here. But a weekly reminder helps because what we've been doing is kind of a snapshot of what's going on in the fall and how people can get engaged. We've been trying to do more building tours. That's something that I kind of undertook as did the first one in Toronto, but it's nice to see when people are coming up with ideas because I was thinking more and more about what we creating, I don't know if it becomes spam when we're like constantly posting information, but I do feel like, you know, LinkedIn is one place that we've been trying to kind of pick up. So there's legislative changes that are being made in Ontario that are impacting condos. So we've been trying to kind of show that, hey, our advocacy committee did this. And then we did like a snapshot of every particular, like just snippets from that article that we sent to the government or however that may be. And I think it helped because people started saying, hey, I saw CAI is doing this. You know, I saw CAI. So sometimes it's just also singing your own accolades. So I like the weekly idea. Thanks. Is it me? I
Me,
don't know how to. Yeah.
me,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Tanisha, I wanted to tell you just a heads up. When we first started, it's the weekly Wednesday e-blast. It comes
Yeah.
out every Wednesday. Some weeks it has more information than other weeks. And at first, you know, you're like, people are like, oh, it's another email. Well, you know, people now look forward to the Wednesday e-blast because it catches them up. It kind of sets their thing, oh, okay, yeah, that's coming up. I have to plan for that, or that's going on in CAI. So now it's become part of the routine. In the
Yeah.
beginning, you may have people that are not looking at it. Okay. But over time, and we've been doing it, the e-blast now, a good number of years. And it really, people look forward to it. Every once I'm like, oh, it's time for that weekly e-blast. I have other managers say it's perfect because like we just had our coffee with president, and that was on
Mhm.
the e-blast, and it happened to be kind of near in time to that. And so it reminded people, oh yeah, that's right. There was that, you know, the coffee with president. So we had a boost, people signing up, boosting after the Wednesday e-blast goes out.
That's a
So
great
I
one to
would,
do, coffee with president, because we don't do something like that, and it may like it's kind
yeah.
of awkward being I'm like, oh, that would be coffee with me, but you know, it would be fantastic. No, I'm a chatty Kathy. I love those sort of interaction moments, and I think it would be an opportunity. What we were really trying to do is, you know, frame ourselves because in Ontario, there's a landscape of other organizations that are aligned more with, and obviously their branding, they've been in, you know, Canada for 30 years, like as organizations, whereas for us, we're kind of new, right? We're still in our infancy in Canada, but we're really trying to shape that and show that what brings us and what makes us so unique as well is that we have a global presence. So for me, one of the things that I've been discussing with the board is actually leaning on that and kind of working to show, hey, these are the synergies, or this is what we're looking at, and how it work, like how CAI operates in the Middle East, or these sorts of things, and what are the common denominators. So that would be a good way to also kind of link it into that weekly reminder. Here's something that says like, did you know in, I don't know, in Georgia, this is how they do, you know, the reserve funds or something like that, because it's going to create authenticity as to what's different about CAI. And I think that's what we're really trying to brand, get people to participate in our events. Like for our holiday event, it's so cheesy. I'm not sure what you guys will think of it, but one of the things that I came up with, I sit on our education committee, is for that. I was thinking about doing a spin-off of a gingerbread, but a competition for the lawyers that are sitting on the panel where they actually have to build a condo out of gingerbread and then the participants can kind of vote on it. But perhaps doing that like ahead of time. And I thought, oh, that could be something that's like, you know, eye-catching, but also leading up to the event, it gives you some marketing material where people are getting excited and they're like, oh yeah, like, oh, what's the, you know, this lawyer, what does their one look like, or however, right?
I think there's definitely a great opportunity. Our Coffee with President started during COVID. That
Okay.
was a kind of like our reach out to our membership during a time when, you know, people weren't really engaging in that way. So then we kept it because it was actually pretty successful and it was pretty well attended. So now though we don't, it's I think we now do it 3 times a year. So we
Okay.
don't do it you know, at one point we did 4 times a year. Then we're like, you know what, it just time catches up with you so quickly. So I think now we do it 3 times a year. And you can make it however way you want it. So the first one, if you want to do an introduction, have a guest speaker, or however way you want to do it. But I feel like it's a great way to show engagement with your membership and just, you know, and go through some of the things that's happening. So I highly do, I think, encourage the Coffee with Presidents. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll bring it up to our board and kind of see where their palette is on it, but I think it would be a great idea. Really appreciate that.
Sure.
Robin, you had come off mute too. Did you want to share? Maybe that was an accident. I did drop in the chat the Central Florida's weekly email. I'm sure there are some other great examples of these as well. This is a really good one. For some reason, the pictures aren't coming through, so you have to use your imagination on that. But you can see some of the things that they are doing. I also wanted to point out, going back to what Della and Kelly were talking about, is they have been selling out of their monthly educational luncheons. And this was not the case before, but they have looked at the location, as Kelly mentioned, every time, and done some sort of theme or something fun for people to look forward to. So you can see, if you open up their email, this last one was a spooky October. And so everyone dressed up. I saw it was all over LinkedIn and looked crazy fun. I was having a little, I was jealous, for having a little FOMO for missing out there. And then the next one they're doing at the zoo, and the zoo is having Chinese lantern, their Chinese lanterns that month. And so they're incorporating that in. Instead of doing a luncheon, they're doing an afternoon event, doing the education, and then people can stay and see the Chinese lanterns. So as Kelly mentioned, they have really found that people aren't going to come out unless they make it worthwhile. And they also, last month, I think it was a lunch cruise. So it was on a boat on the water, and they did the education session on there. So just some ideas wanted to throw out as well. Anyone else have anything on the topic of getting managers to your events?
I'm sorry, mine is just a comment. I really liked how the theme thing, it gives you a little bit more ideas on how to keep people engaged and looking forward to the luncheon. So creating that, whoever did that was wonderful.
Yeah. And then keeping them excited even after the fact. So taking pictures of them and sharing them on social media, because whether we like to admit it or not, a lot of people do like to see their name and see themselves participating in chapter events. So. All right, what else? What other topics do you have? Robin, go ahead.
Well, this is not so much as getting the participation, but keeping the participation. So something that came up that was an issue was we recently had an event, and complaints came to me from some of the management companies, like the COOs and things like that, because they were upset they're sending their people, and there was other companies that were going around and trying to hire people. And I mean, I guess it's kind of an unspoken thing. We've always just had this thing that's kind of like nobody really kind of approaches people at these events because you're kind of sending people there just like our board members. So do people have problems with that? And I don't know how you kind of, because they're coming to me like as the president, like I'm going to solve this.
So I'll let some of the president-elect speak too, but working with chapters, I feel like companies are becoming a little bit more aggressive in this. And if with other chapters, one of the things, of course, you try to set the tone, that this is not really accepted and it shouldn't happen. Some of our chapters have gone to a code of conduct that you agree to whenever you register for the event. So it lists that in the code of conduct. They check off that they agree to that as well. Some of it you aren't going to be able to stop or pinpoint that it actually happened at a CAI event.
Yeah.
But if it's actively happening at a CAI event, you might want to consider a code of conduct or something like that, or a conversation with the person. I would definitely start off with a conversation and say, hey, we're trying to build a sense of trust and get people to attend these events. And, that really wouldn't feel good to you either if that was happening,
Yeah.
to your company. Who else? Anyone dealt with that successfully? Krista?
Oh, I'm not sure we dealt with it successfully. I think we dealt with it to the best of our ability. That's what I'm going to say.
Love it. That's perfect.
But I'm glad Robin brought this up, because I think this is an issue that's actually very prevalent in multiple chapters. We had an incident this year that happened at our conference and expo. One party accusing another party of, like trying to solicit business from party number one. And this person that the accusations were made against actually used to work for the company that was accusing her of trying to solicit business. Anyways, long story short, and this individual was actually set on our board, unfortunately. So yeah, the executive committee got, put right smack in the middle of trying to resolve this situation. We proceeded with hearing, basically given a hearing to both parties involved. And, the outcome was that, perception is reality in this industry. And that when you sit in a leadership capacity, especially when you sit in a leadership capacity for the chapter, you have to have a lot of a heightened sense of self-awareness, right? Sometimes when you sit on the board or you're a committee chair, committee member, you've got a target on your back, right? So you're going to come under a different level of scrutiny than the rest of the membership. But it made me think, right? So code of conduct, yes, we have that. How do you really enforce it, right? How do you avoid these he said, she said scenarios? And what is a fair way to resolve those matters? I don't know if this lends itself to, do the chapters where these issues often present themselves need to have an ethics committee in place? I don't know, like just throwing that idea out there. I don't know if any other chapter has something like that, but it's a common occurrence, and especially I think with your larger chapters, you've got multiple management companies, even other business partners, even other service providers trying to poach other people, if you will. It happens, and anybody that says it's not, I'm not going to believe it. So, but I don't know that we can avoid it. The question is, how do we handle it?
Great question. And I think that it is I deal with a lot of the smaller chapters who are going through it too, because they have a smaller pool of people.
Yeah.
Jason?
I'll jump in with a different opinion, I guess. So for those of you who don't know, I'm in Southeast Florida. You want to talk competitive market, I'm in it. I own a medium-sized management company. I get emails every day on LinkedIn offering me jobs. So I know all of my managers are getting those as well. It's just the way the world is today. So I think we all need to look. I walked into a situation that wasn't CAI, where it was supposed to be an open event, and it was definitely a recruiting event, and I got aggravated. This had nothing to do with CAI. It was something completely different. And I had a conversation with the guy who owns the management company. And I expressed my opinion because that's who I am. And he took my opinion. He said, that's great. Please just don't come next time. I go, you know what? You're right. That's fine. I knew what I was walking into. I prepared my team for it. So, we're a chapter that's actually struggling to get managers out for sure, because it's South Florida. There's a million things to do. And I'm of the opinion that if you're trying to hold everything to you so closely, there's a problem. They're getting these offers, they're having these conversations, whether it's communities, business partners, whatever it is, and they're getting these offers every day. So I don't really get hung up on it from my perspective. I think if you are nurturing your people, if your people are enjoying where they're working, they're going to stay. If they're not, and the only thing that's motivating them is one more dollar, then maybe it's time for them to move on anyway. But that's sort of my take on
I think that the issue with the upper management people is they feel like they're paying money to send their people to the event. It's not about that
am.
with them. That's what it's about. It's more so they're paying for the boards, they're paying for their managers and everybody to go for these events, so that they're, in their perspective, they don't want to continue to pay to have people come there if it's just a event for people to be solicited. So that is what I'm being told from, and we are in a smaller market, and so whenever I have one of our major, and Kelly knows, it's where I'm at. So if I have one of our major management companies wanting to pull all their people out, that would really impact our chapter. So
I get it, Robin. I'm just trying to give you ammo to push back on, I guess, is what
I know. I'm just saying, and it's actually the company is the one our one of our board members' company too. So it's so.
Well, and I think there is a difference too, Jason. I totally hear where you're coming from. That yes, they get those emails every day, but we don't want a CAI event like the one that you just mentioned, where that is like the norm.
Yeah. No,
for them
I
to
get
come.
it. I push back on, sorry, and I guess I push back on the larger management companies that are pulling their people back for that reason, because of the fact that you're handicapping yourself in the long run. And these are the reasons why. Maybe I should have prefaced it that
That's a great message. I love that. I love that you're telling people that.
Yeah.
Mia, you came off mute. Did you want to share?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, we all know that there's simply some people that will push the boundaries and say things and do things that they shouldn't do at these events. But we had in Georgia, this is the second one that we did. We did the business partner boot camp. Okay, and this was for new members that have recently joined CAI. We have a panel that speaks, and the panel is made up of past presidents and the current president. And it's across various areas, right, of business partners, from landscaping to attorneys to, restoration companies, all of that. And in that room full of people, we talk about, a big part of what we talk about is ethics and what is expected, what is best practices, what are we expecting, and it's weird. You have this conversation, and they don't really realize to what extent they can or cannot engage with managers or other people at these functions, and they just don't know. So we spend a lot of time talking about those expectations, best practices, and these types of things, and we share our feedback, our own personal experiences with that. And I just do think that it was very helpful to just have these reminders, but also just not assume that new people know what's the line, right? We think they inherently know there's a line, but a lot of people just don't know to what extent they can push that. So I think that was a very helpful thing that we did. So I just wanted to add that.
Great point. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else have anything on this topic? All right, what else? What else is on your mind? So I did want to share a couple things with you all. First of all, the Love Where You Live campaign that we talked about a while back. I know a couple of you have asked me about it. Jason, you emailed me last week, and I'd love for you to talk about the challenge that you gave to the board members that are there. But just to let you know, the middle of this month, we'll have some materials and more information coming out about that, so that you can push it out on social media, and your chapter can do that as well. I know we mentioned it months ago, and I just wanted to let you know that that's still coming. Jason, would you share the challenge that you issued at your event last week?
Sure. As you guys see, I have a big mouth. So we had a homeowner leader and manager sort of mini expo event in South Florida. And we actually had a pretty good room full of homeowner leaders. And we were having a discussion around advocacy and what you can do. And I'm involved in a couple of different things where it's really about changing the narrative a little bit for management companies and a little bit for our communities, right? There's a lot of negativity around condos and HOAs, especially in South Florida. I know other parts of the country are experiencing the same thing. A lot of legislation that's to the 1%. The 1% of the problem is legislating the rest of the everybody else's stuff. So we had a pretty good discussion going, and my challenge at the end, we talked about advocacy and what to do and bringing legislators out to the property, and we had people in the room who said, yes, I've done that, and we've had the legislators out, and we've done this and we've done that. So it was a room that was actually understanding the process. So at the end of it, I took it a step further and I said, all right, so my challenge to you all going home is within the next 2 weeks, I want you to send an email to your legislators and we'll help you out. Telling them, not bitching about the law change or complaining about this or something, but tell them why you enjoy your community and why you chose to live in a condo or an HOA or your association, and just take a few minutes and write something positive. And my intention was to follow it up with the Love Where You Live campaign, which is why I reached out to Emily originally. And we're still going to do that. So we're going to follow up with them with a first draft, and then we'll follow up with a second one sort of with that. So just kind of pushing change the narrative, right? I've got you engaged for 5 minutes. Let me send you home with a mission instead of just walking away with, somebody's fan that says, try to donate or something.
That's great.
I
I love it.
that idea. That is awesome. That's a great way to get them engaged. And especially with what is going on, we're trying to do away with the HOAs, which I don't think it's going to happen, but it helps them to really take ownership as well.
I actually had an interesting conversation about the HOA. Do I have a minute to go on a tangent?
Sure, go ahead.
So there are a couple of people in here. So Florida, there was one of our legislators who is going on a tangent, says HOAs need to go away. And it's an absurd conversation and it's never going anywhere. But in an interesting conversation with a different lobbyist, not CAI's lobbyist, he's jumping on the idea of this is actually a good thing because it gives us a platform to take it the other way, right? The idea that they will be legislated out is absurd, but it actually gives us a great platform to say why it's so absurd, and these are the things that are positive about it. So we did kind of dovetail that into the challenge a little bit too. But I think the real challenge now for us as the chapter is to hold them to it, right? So we're working on a follow-up email to them that'll push them again as a reminder, and then we'll thankfully dovetail the We Are Love Where You Live campaign as part of it too. But it's going to take pushing because we know if there were 50 people in the room, maybe 5 will send an email, but it takes pushing.
Yeah, that's great. And while other people in the other states don't have the legislation, like potential legislation like we do to ban them, I think this is huge because just of the reputation and, kind of the news out there, the negative news. And so I think this Love Where You Live campaign is going to be huge for us. And I hope that your chapters can leverage it as well.
I think this concept of changing the narrative it's a national issue. It's not, obviously I'm focused on Florida, but it is conversations that I'm having in other rooms with people who are in Oregon, who are in Georgia, who are in, all parts of the country, because we, the industry, have become the funny joke and we need to change it.
Yeah. And we have a wonderful, title wrong. It's media relations director, manager, something like that. And he is on it. I mean, he looks at this news, the positive, the negative, and he's always having Dawn, they're doing press releases, they're, talking to the media. And so if you ever have something come across to you all in your state that you want help on responding to, please let us know. Blaine Tobin is his name, and we can get you in contact with him to help out. So it's likely that he might have seen it, but definitely share with us so we can help out with that.
And even to the fact, I had a chapter reach out recently that a news channel had reached out to them about an association that wasn't a member, it's, you know, not involved with CAI, but said, hey, I found your information. You guys seem to know what you're talking about. Can you respond? And the chapter just wasn't prepared enough to do that. And so let us take that on. So Blaine took that on and he, you know, kept the chapter informed, but we really could take the lead from that perspective. So please, you know, don't feel like you're in this alone. If you are getting contacted by the media or the public about this, please let us assist in that manner.
Thanks, Kelly. And Alicia did put Blaine's contact information for you all as well. One of the things I wanted to mention is we did let you all know that we were going to be doing a new member meeting, a new member Zoom meeting. And the first one happened last week with our managers and our management companies. And many of the chapters are doing them at the local level, but we wanted to do something to engage, let them know how they can engage with us as well, and all of the benefits that they have to offer. So that did happen last week. It was, I think, a pretty good turnout. It's something that we hope will grow. And it was anyone who was a new member in the last 3 months. So, and then I think the next one is going to be the business partners, Kelly.
Yes, they're looking at the business partner piece of it. So, and I do want to reference Randy. It was Brian Butler kind of facilitated that discussion. So thanks for letting him off some chapter duties so that he could go ahead and and do that for us. But we do let you guys know of those ahead of time when possible. So if you do have membership committee meeting or members who want to also sit in on those calls, feel free, or if you yourself want to sit in on those calls to see what we're sharing from our perspective, we are hoping to then take those contacts and share them with the chapters so that they know, okay, these people were engaged at this level, and now I can also do that personal local reach out to that as well. So again, those will go to your chapter executive directors. But just for you guys to know, some of those initiatives are taking place. And we have a group of CEDs who meet monthly to just kind of work through different solutions that chapters are seeing. And one of those was coming up with a template for new member communications that was very simple for any chapter to adopt and to use. So that's now in our toolkit as well. It's got some email templates, it's got some timelines. I know some of our larger chapters, you do a really good job at that new member onboarding and continued engagement. And then I know some of our smaller chapters are kind of struggling to get those initiatives started. So I do want to thank, I see a few chapters that your CEDs shared what you guys send to your new members. So thank you for having those in place. We feel that that engagement's really important within that first year specifically for our members.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kelly. Anything else you'd like to talk about before we get our Friday afternoon going again? All right. Well,
I have one last thing as a reminder, and you'll see this reminder in the weekly email as well. But on October 15th, we have our Community Conversations live webinar. So usually that's more geared towards the homeowner perspective. It's a conversation that takes place, so a presentation and conversation. It is free for members to attend. We do offer chapters if you want to facilitate a regional breakout room, or if you have a person that would be good to help facilitate that. It gives your chapter some exposure. Again, we have some chapters that work with their business partners, so it gets them some more exposure on another level. But if you're interested in participating in that from the chapter, or even just sharing the information, your CEDs do have that. So just remind them or touch base with them about that information. But that is coming up on October 15th. So it's one of those great extra benefits for your homeowner leaders who are really looking for, you know, some things more geared towards them, and this is that free webinar for them to attend.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you for all that you do. We really appreciate you and everything that you do to serve your local chapter. If you ever need us, we're here to help. Your chapters have a liaison on the chapter relations team. If you don't know who it is, let us know and we'll be happy to to let you know that. And if you need anything, let us know. Otherwise, we will see you in November.